evening, everybody. Somehow we got flipped around here. There we go. Much better. Welcome to Sketch Club. I'm Jason Meyer, and tonight we're going to continue working on the eye a bit. Looks like my camera got moved more than a little. So let's step back here. There we go. And we'll have to fix that. We'll fix that in a second. Let's go to this other camera. But we're going to start with the eye, and we'll do an overview of what we talked about Sunday, and then we'll go into a little bit of refinement on this and talk to you guys, show you guys how you refine. I was a little busy goofing off, and I think I messed a couple of things up. Bad, Jason. Bad, Jason. But I don't think it's anything we can't straighten out. Hopefully. Look at that. Come on. Everybody hang on. There it goes. Now we're looking at you. Now we can see you. All right. So if we head over to the palette, man, all that camera's moved. Oof, that guy was rough. Got zoomed in a little close and everything. But here we go. Miss Claudia, just in time or a little bit late, you could have had some snorting happening. Snort. All right, so let's look at the eyeball. If we think about just a round sphere, right? That'll be the eyeball itself. And then we talked about how the lids wrap around the eyeball, and that those lids actually have a bottom plane and a top plane, and then the bottom one has a top plane and a side plane. So that there's some plane changes there, and those plane changes are represented with light and shadow and cast shadow, and then the top plane's a little bit lighter, and we turn under. Okay? We also talked a couple things about the design, about the top with the utmost here. Again, this eye that we're working from here is slightly tilted, but if you're looking straight on, generally speaking, now you got to correct for individuals. Your highest point's going to be somewhere over here. The lowest point's going to be something like that. You're going to get kind of a diagonal. Okay, this is a design thing, and that'll be the opening of the eye. Shortish, medium, long, medium. And then the bottom's only got two. It's gonna look a little bit more like that. Okay, as far as the outline, but we're not drawing outlines, are we? Okay, almond, did we forget anything? Well, we want to make sure, but check that angle. Check that angle of the eye. If you can get a couple of these good angles in and give us some form, you're going to have a better designed eye. Miss the snort? No. There was some flat out goofiness going on before you got here. Flat out, maybe so much goofiness that I messed up the cameras. So we'll have to see. I don't know. It's so embarrassing. I don't even want to talk about it. Okay, so we talked about the design of the coverings of the lids of the eye, making sure we wrap around. And then we also talked about how the dark of the eye acts as the eye turns around. Now this just so happens with anything. Like if we have something and we're straight on, right? Those are going to be equal. But as this turns around and that center comes here, we're going to see much more of this side and much less of that side. Okay? So that's also true with that. So this isn't a full circle anymore. The more we move around, right, if it's straight on, it'll, oops, it's a little high. Let's come down here. If it's straight on, it'll look like that. And then as it turns, it's going to get more and more severe of an ellipse. Look, those are staying the same, but that distance is changing. Okay? So not too severe there, but you do want to show a little bit of that. A little bit of that squeezing. You can see this is longer than that. Okay? So with those two things, we got to this point. Right? Where did this shadow comes from? Well, this whole eyeball is sitting inside of a big hole in the skull. Okay? So this shadow you see coming here, we're painting this eye, is as we tuck under, right? The back of that eyeball turns back. That skull turns under. So there's a crease there. So this is a downward facing plane. That's a downward facing plane. And this is a downward side of the shadow. Right? These are the shadow sides over here. So as the eye turns, right, the pinnacle's over here, and then it's going to turn around. This will be the deepest part before it heads back up across the nose. So what we're talking about is topography, right? But that's shown with very basic drawing principles. But what happens is we can think we're doing this, but we're so used to seeing things straight on that we're constantly just drawing them straight on and aren't accounting for, any turn that might be happening. All right, so if you catch a little bit of that, that'll go a long way. A long way. All right, did I get some love for the snorts there? Did I get some love for the snorts? So a couple minutes late, so we'll end up a few minutes. But that's just, again, running through some of the things we talked about Sunday. If you want a little bit more of that, you can look at Sunday's program. Or if you'd like to know about the basic forms and how they're shaded, you can check out our online course in our school. Okay, so we put in the ball. We wrapped the eyelid around. We gave the eyelid an plane, top plane, and then it also turned it around this way, right? So it's three-dimensional. That eyeball is coming out. See the highlight there? And then going back in as it turns under, starts to go into shadow. As it turns that way, it goes into shadow. Then we have a little ledge right here. Right? That's that plane I was talking about, that top plane. And then you got that little key. Right? So that eyelid, the outside of the eyelid is separated off of the eyeball. Right? It's actually can slide up and down. Then it turns out, and then what's this here? Well, this is where the eyeball turns in and the cheek is pulling back out. Right? So just that happened to the top, the eyelid's pulling in to the skull below. But it's not so severe usually down here. Okay? A lot of times it's a little more severe here. So you'll get, generally speaking, more of a crease here and a quieter transition down there. All right. Oops, Miss Schaefer came late. Just watch tonight. Ah, okay. It's all good. So we're going to try to refine some of this. Why did my camera? Did we just sneak in too close here? I'm going to make some adjustments here. So you guys, there we go. That way I don't feel quite so tight. How did our focus? Are we still in focus? Lost a little bit, it looks like. There we go. There we go. All right. So after you know the structure and you set up the structure of this thing, art really is about a lot more than just structure, right? A lot more than just the structure. It's about poetry. So after you know the structure, what you want to think about is the different ways that you can express or kind of emerge and hang on to hard and soft edges, right? Are there places where we can completely open edges? Right? And the thing still feels structural? Do we have to really have like every single little thing outlined? Probably not. Probably not. There's probably some room, and we're probably going to get a little more realistic if we start thinking about what's more hard-edged, what's more soft-edged, what's more prominent. And believe it or not, a painting will come alive not by finishing a particular spot, but by giving the viewer a good path and pace through which to go. So what do you say? Let's propose our path tonight then is let's come off here. Let's start there. We can catch a little action. You know, I might see if I can't sneak that highlight over there just to get some more of that transparency here. Again, so we're going to come in, jig back a little bit, come over. We won't let this all be equal. Instead, we'll jump over here a bit to this corner, which will also be tied into that corner. And then can we just suggest the highlight at the edge of the nose here? What would happen there? So what do you say we spend the next 20 minutes or so? I'll try not to, well, who knows? You guys can always turn it off if this is too long. But we'll try not to go too long and see what happens. So let's quiet this down. Right? Why do we want to quiet this down? Well, I want you to go here, 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 which means I do not want you to go here. Right? So for every place I want you to go, that's also telling you a lot of places I don't want you to go. So much of art is taking away where you don't want them to go. Right? It's like kind of giving a nice tour. You don't let them just roam around the house. Right? This is a bunch of people you've never met, and it's just a home tour. So, right? Anyway, that's how I'm thinking of home tour. Maybe there's different. Maybe there's different. But I don't think they're allowed just to go through your stuff. I don't think they're allowed just to go through your stuff. Right? So don't let people just go through your stuff. Tell them where the party is. Right? How to get where the entryway is. They shouldn't be crawling in your windows or dropping in through the attic. No. Come in through the front door. Come through the living room and the kitchen, and we're going to be meeting out on the patio. Right? Or actually the party's right here, but you'll exit off the patio. Right? It's got to be convincing to you. So we want to say this is up, but we can even let the dark of the eye fade a little bit there. Now we are going to take here. We want this to kind of go away a little bit so that that'll have more impact. Right? Then we decided we were going to keep our lights over here, again, to move the viewer's eye. but we still want this to read as a top plane. We just don't want this to be when they're in that area where they're going. So what we'll do is we'll just get that stuff a little closer there and a little further away over here. I remember I decided I'm going to move that highlight over, so I'm going to go ahead and just start graying that out a little bit. Alright, and then I hard edged all of this, really showing you guys. You'll find that if you'll be more conservative, not use as many hard edges, hold them in reserve more, right? Let things be a little bit soft, not too loosey-goosey, but we don't need razor sharp edges here, right? This thing's, it's not a jet engine getting somebody to space or something, right? So let's see if we can't loosen up on that and see if our drawings don't feel a little better when we do that. Right, maybe even since we want to be over here. Okay, and then take the eraser. Let's make sure we have our edge there. Let's pull them this way. And in. They're going to go there, and then we're going to have a highlight up the bridge of the nose. Make sense? And you know, with a little practice and some experience, it's almost mind-blowing the sensitivity you can develop. Right? And then being able to orchestrate that sensitivity. Right? Put it behind a concept. Right? Give it something to do. Things getting a little softer. This feels still a bit much. That feels a bit much. Well, let's forget that. Let's forget that for a minute, huh? Let's forget about what feels much and think about what we want. Not about what we don't want, but what we want. Didn't we say we want to start over here? So let's go ahead and let that crease have a little bit more bite over there. Okay, so that gets your eye there. And then their eyelashes coming out of here. So that'll something will get your attention. Just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. Near. Far. Ooh, yeah, even that small you can do near to far. We want to come. Okay, where are we going? Where are we going? There's eyelashes down here, right? We want to We want to come down this way. Do you guys see how easy that was? That was just one pass with the dark. Now, did all of this make logical sense? No. The darkest thing should definitely be back in here. That's going to be deeper. But look, with a soft touch and not giving them a lot to look up, but keep them going through there, they're not going to question that. Okay, so let's come back then. And with our eraser one more time, maybe we'll make it a bit smaller. I think we're going to have to pull this down. Some of this is getting a little bit big, but I want to make sure to try to get that little bit of light right in this area. All right, and then hit this. So that's kind of like the start of the eye, so the hard edge, the end of the eye. So if you guys have been around, we've talked about parentheses, right? And notice how by not making them perfect, but a little asymmetrical, it starts to give some energy to it, right? That's one of the big principles in art is asymmetry. When things are just lined up, there's not that much interest. But the minute there's some asymmetry, ooh, a bit more interesting. So you see how that's just expanded on that? But so it is the big pieces, but then you've also got to know how to come in here and orchestrate this little stuff. All right, keep drawing, keep drawing, keep drawing. So we don't really need white right there. Let's see if we can't move our highlight right over here. And let's tell them about this eye that highlight is on. Let's say when this light hits that it's going to spill over the eye that way. Land and spill. Now, is that more effective than a dot? I'm going to say that it is. I'm just going to go ahead and proclaim that is much more effective, exciting, and moving than a dot. So if the highlight's there, we can have a bit of transparency coming through here. Right, we can accentuate that transparency with the dark edge of the eye. And notice rather than just doing it once, but doing it a few times, not exactly the same each time, right? More of a patina builds up than a hard edge. Right? It is important that these things look good. Look good, because we're really talking about beauty in the end. Is anybody freaking out yet? Is anybody freaking out? Everybody okay? It's not real. It's not real. Don't worry. right? And then we can even start talking about the subforms. Right? And as this form gets more and more convincing, this drawing is going to get more and more convincing. It's got nothing to do with matching something, but it's convincing you that this is three-dimensional and that there's movement here. Right? Everything that's alive is moving. It's not stiff and still. If it is for too long, well, it's not alive. It's not alive. And so art is really about, first thing is learning these big principles. But overall, it's just about, okay, what kind of touch are we going to have? Does that look like eyelashes? That feels a little more natural. Right? So there's going to be some give and take. If we studied edges, we know that this top edge is a continuation of the form into shadow. So it will be a softer edge, where the bottom can be a harder edge. So even on that very small scale, if you tend to that, you're going to be amazed at what it does. It doesn't seem like that should be that big a deal. But I don't know. You tell me. You tell me. Same thing here. It's going to end, but that's the outside of that. So the inside of that needs to be chill out, man. You got to get along with those other people. Just chill out. Right, and then down here I can use this to get some eyelashes. All right, we just don't want to have the attention that these have. Okay, something like that. All right, I know we're nearly 7:30. Nearly 7:30. All right, so we'll leave it there tonight, I think. We'll leave it there tonight. So, well, this is better. At least they're not watching you anymore. She's distracted by something else. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Okay. So, if you guys will permit me just a couple of minutes as you guys finish sketching up there. How'd your sketching go? How did your sketching go? I would like to share some very exciting news that we've been working on very hard and very long, and it's coming to fruition, and you're going to hear more and more about it. But we've got our 3-month course starting in August, right? So the wonders of oil painting, right? Those of you been with me this past year have seen the benefit to your mind and your soul. Right? We're going to go from start to finish. There'll be 6 weeks of study and preparation, 6 weeks of executing the painting, and 1 week to review and celebrate. One of the reasons that oil painting takes a little while is because of the material. We need some drying time. And when you try to crush things up too close, you're just not able to give it the time and attention that it needs. So, over 13 weeks, we're going to have lessons and assignments, live Q&A, live exercises, sketching, and color mixing. We're going to be developing the appreciation, studying paintings of the masters, and there's going to be live demonstrations every week. But if that sounds overwhelming to you, the good news is you get to set your own pace. Okay, if you want to come in and be casual, hop in and out, do as you are. You know, however you please, we're happy to help you. But if you'd like to come in and put the hammer down, man, you're going to make some progress. You know, 13 weeks isn't enough to get everything up and running, but you're going to see some development happen. You're going to see some understanding happen. All right, so we'll be covering materials, ideas, and execution. The good versus bad on the materials, composition, lessons, and studies. The colors, tube colors, controlling color, color studies. The painting process, size and placement, lay and paint, refine. And there's going to be time to review and celebrate our time and growth together. So, as promised, we've been saying that all of this has been working up to something. So we're taking everything we're doing and we're going to be putting it inside these courses. If that sounds a little too intense for some of you guys, we're still going to have some of these other opportunities, so don't worry about it. But it'd be a good idea to head on over to the course and get your free account signed up so you stay on all of that. All right, my friends, I think these cameras are so a little wacky. Boom, here we go. I think that's going to do it tonight. What do you think? Not too bad, huh? Talking, a couple half-hour sessions. I'm pretty happy with it. All right, so Sunday we got all kinds of really cool sketches in. I hope some of you will send your sketches in, even if you're watching this later. I know this summer, as the summer comes on, we're getting more and more people. This hour is getting too early for them. But let's show us what you got. Show us what you got. How far can you take the little eye? Can you make it real? Can you make this thing seem watery? How would you do that? All right, maybe we'll talk about that tomorrow night. We'll do some reviews. Or, I don't know if we get enough, if some of you guys want feedback. Do you guys want a little sketch club where we look at some of your eyes and talk about how we can get better? If so, let me know. Let me know. In the meantime, we'll be back tomorrow morning for our mix-along. We will be right here mixing paint. But that's going to be on YouTube at 8 a.m. So if that's something that interests you, I hope you'll check us out over there at Meyer Studio. All right, everybody. Much love, and we will see you guys soon.